Despite their low numbers, these motherfuckers were insane. They were responsible for at least 60 murders between 1968 and 1986, and one of their main rackets was kidnapping other gangsters and ransoming them. I mean, the fucking balls you gotta have to do something like that. It's believed that the group dissolved in the 90s when most of their leadership was either dead or in jail. The Peaky fucking Blinders. Now, you heard about this gang from the show, so you're probably thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, Peaky Blinders is real. Well, calm down, because Peaky Blinders from the show is fictional, but there was a real Peaky Blinders in England back in the end of the 19th century. Now, to understand the conditions under which the Peaky Blinders were formed, you need to understand that England in the late 1800s was an absolute shithole, okay? Everybody had diarrhea because cholera was in the water. All people ate was beans on toast with a side of sawdust and a glass of Flint, Michigan water to wash it down. For fun, people would go watch bear baiting, which was when a bear got chained to a stake and a bunch of dogs were set on it, and the people would bet on who would win, the bear or the dogs. Anyways, you get the idea. It was a fucked up place. And you know, hard places breed hard people. So a bunch of groups started to spring up out of the slums of Birmingham. These groups, made up of young street urchins, would pick people's pockets, rob people, and beat people up. The biggest of these street gangs called themselves the Peaky Blinders. The Peaky Blinders were extremely violent, frequently engaging in gang wars, and even attacking police officers on many occasions. Eventually, after a long drawn-out war with two other Birmingham gangs, the Birmingham Boys and the Sabini Gang, the Peaky Blinders lost a lot of their territory and influence and would eventually fizzle out. Now, even though the original gang dissolved, Peaky Blinders began to be used as a term to refer to any gang of young street urchins from Birmingham. Babar Khalsa is a Sikh organization whose goal is to create an independent Sikh country known as Khalistan. For those unaware, Sikhs are a religious minority who originate from the Punjab region of India. You've probably seen them before. They can usually be identified by their long beards and turbans that they wear as a part of their religion. They're also very nice people based on the ones that I've met. Well, I guess not all of them are nice, because Babar Khalsa frequently uses violent attacks to accomplish their goals and are designated as an international terrorist organization. Some of these violent acts include the bombing of an Air India flight, which resulted in the deaths of 300 civilians, and on top of that bombing, there was another bomb that was supposed to go off on another flight the same day, but it ended up exploding at an airport in Tokyo instead. Those were the main attacks, but they also bombed a movie theater in India and assassinated multiple Sikh leaders who spoke out against their cause. Primeiro Comando del Capital is the largest criminal enterprise in Brazil. Now, these guys are unique when it comes to organized crime because about a third of their members are in prison. In fact, they originated in a Sao Paulo prison. Most of the criminal activities involved prison riots, prison breaks, and drug trafficking on the inside. On the outside, they also do drug trafficking, obviously, but they also commit a lot of highway robbery, which is very common in Brazil. In 2017, they were involved in what's called a mega robbery called the Paraguay heist. The gangsters robbed a private security company on the border of Brazil and Paraguay with automatic rifles, dynamite, and even anti-aircraft guns, and they made off with about $8 million and escaped by boat. Damn, bro, this is some Grand Theft Auto shit. I wonder how many times they had to restart this mission. Anyways, this was known in Brazil as the heist of the century, and I think I agree. Patan Gang. The Patan Gang were led by a man named Karim Lala, so a lot of the mythology of the Patan Gang kind of revolves around him. Karim was one of the three mafia dons of Mumbai. Basically, him and two other gang leaders decided to divide Mumbai into three so they could focus on crime without getting into a war. The Patan Gang operated out of the impoverished Muslim ghettos and specialized in illegal gambling and liquor dens, as well as loan sharking and contract killings. They hid all their illegal behavior by setting up clubs that were just fronts for their rackets. Lala was actually pretty well known at the time and apparently had a lot of friends in Bollywood as well as politics. Boko Haram. I actually added this one because I think people don't talk about it enough. Boko Haram is an Islamic extremist organization based in Nigeria. These motherfuckers are some of the most brutal and fucked up terrorists on the planet. They almost make ISIS look like schlemiels by comparison. Boko Haram was founded in Nigeria by Muhammad Yusuf with the goal of overthrowing the Nigerian government and establishing an Islamic state. The group built built up a following by targeting poor people and offering them a way out of poverty. He also used poverty to direct anger towards non-Muslim Nigerians, since most of the wealth in the country is concentrated in the majority Christian South. Also, they did a fair amount of kidnapping to increase their numbers. As they grew, Boko Haram continued to become more and more radicalized and violent. The Nigerian government waged an all-out war against them, and during this war, hundreds of thousands of people died and millions were displaced due to their constant suicide bombings and attacks